All right, let's get right into it. If you've got a Yamaha F115, you know it's an absolute beast of an engine. But there's this one thing, this one super frustrating problem that can drive you absolutely nuts. That intermittent starting issue. You know the one. Well, today, we're going to hunt down that silent killer and solve it for good. Oh man, you know this feeling. The sun's out, the boat's all loaded up, you turn that key and click. Nothing. Or maybe you get that slow, sad little crank. Ugh. That feeling right there, that frustration, that's exactly what we're going to get to the bottom of today. And I'm willing to bet you've gone through the usual checklist, right? You put a meter on the battery, and what do you know? It reads a perfect 12.6 volts. You know the starter isn't dead because it fired up just fine yesterday. See, that's what makes this whole thing so incredibly infuriating. It's like a ghost in the machine. It hides from all the obvious checks. So here's where it gets tricky. These symptoms, they all kind of look the same. You hear that click and your brain immediately screams battery. But, that's not always the whole story. A click, a weak crank, those can be the calling card of something way, way sneakier going on deep in your electrical system. We're not just looking for clues, we're hunting a very specific culprit. All right, let's do it. Time to pull back the curtain and unmask this silent killer once and for all. Because the real reason your perfectly good engine is failing you, it's probably not what you're thinking. I mean, this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? You've got a fully charged battery, you know your starter can work, but the power just isn't completing the journey from point A to point B. So, what in the world is getting in the way? And here it is. The culprit's name is voltage drop. The best way to think about it is like a kink in a garden hose. You can have all the pressure in the world coming from the spigot, that's your battery, but if there's a bad kink somewhere, you only get a tiny trickle out the other end. Well, in our world, that kink is some hidden corrosion or a loose connection, and it's starving your starter of the juice it's screaming for. And hey, don't just take my word for it. Yamaha themselves, I'm talking an official service bulletin here, they flat out say that voltage drop testing is the most reliable way to figure out these starting issues. So this isn't some wild guess. This is how the pros do it. Okay, so here's the magic number you need to burn into your brain. 9.5 volts. Yamaha says this is the absolute rock-bottom minimum your starter needs to be getting while you're actually cranking the engine. So if you put a meter on that starter and it's reading anything less than 9.5, bam, you found your problem. It's definitive proof of voltage drop, even if your battery is sitting pretty at over 12 volts. All right, theory is all well and good, but let's get our hands dirty. How do you actually find where that power is disappearing? Let's walk through the step-by-step test that is going to pinpoint the problem for you. Think of this as your treasure map to find the problem. You're going to grab a multimeter and just follow the path the electricity is supposed to take. You start right at the battery terminals to get your baseline reading. Then, and you'll probably want a buddy to help turn the key for this part, you're going to check the solenoid input, then the solenoid output, and finally the post on the starter motor itself. You're literally just looking for the spot where the voltage takes a nosedive. And here's the golden rule, the thing that makes this so easy. As you go from one point to the next, if you see a drop of more than half a volt, 0.5 volts, that's it. That's your big red flag. That's the kink in the hose we were talking about. You've just found your problem, whether it's a corroded connection or a part that's gone bad. Okay, so let's say your voltage drop test is pointing a big old finger right at the solenoid. But maybe you want to be 100% sure before you go out and spend money on a new part. Well, there is one last kind of ultimate confirmation test you can do. It's called the bypass test, and trust me, it's super powerful. All you're going to do is use a heavy jumper wire to connect the main battery terminal on the solenoid directly to the starter motor terminal. See, what you're doing is taking the solenoid completely out of the equation. You're bypassing it. And if that engine cranks over strong and roars to life, you've just proven it. You know, the battery is good, the cables are good, and the starter itself is good. The problem has to be that solenoid you just jumped. So let's see this in action. I want to share a real-world case study with you, one that shows how a problem that frustrated someone for months was solved in just a few minutes using this exact approach. And after that, we'll talk about how to make sure this never happens to you in the first place. So this is from an owner who was, frankly, at his wit's end. He knew his battery was good, but when he measured the voltage coming out of the solenoid, he was getting a measly 4.8 volts. Remember that magic number, 9.5? Yeah. 4.8 isn't just low, it's a catastrophic failure. It basically confirmed his solenoid had turned into a giant, useless resistor. And the final nail in the coffin? He did the bypass test. The engine cranked over perfectly, and a simple, relatively cheap solenoid replacement had his F115 starting up like it was brand new. That is the power of doing a systematic diagnosis. You're not guessing anymore, you're just working with the facts. So, how do you stop this from ever ruining your day on the water? Well, it really helps to know your engine's common weak points. Get this, Yamaha's own data says a crazy 80% of these starting problems come from the positive battery cable connection. But you also got to keep an eye on the engine ground strap, which loves to corrode, the wiring for the key switch, and of course, the solenoid itself. Just checking these spots for corrosion and making sure everything's tight is your absolute best defense. So, the next time your engine gives you that dreaded click, I want you to stop. Don't just immediately blame the battery. Grab your multimeter and ask yourself, is that silent killer voltage drop hiding in plain sight? Because now you know exactly how to find it.